Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
We take this time to introduce ourselves to each other. My name is Howard.
Mike. Doug.
Carl.
George.
Jim.
Lee. Mark. Liz. Paul.
Kevin.
Bob.
Sharon.
I'm Steve.
Bill.
Bruce.
Hal.
Paul.
Peter.
Robin.
Greg.
Bob.
Paul.
Lewis.
Eric. My name is Jim.
Carl.
Nick. Nicholas.
And Jim, I know that one of your friends has a rat.
Oh, good.
You may want to introduce.
Both of them have rooms. Oh, one of my friends. Hi, Peggy. This is my good friend, Peggy Flynn. We've been friends for many years, so welcome. Thank you.
Good to see you, Peggy. Welcome. We also want to extend a special welcome to those who are here for the first time. If you can raise your hand. Wow, all these veterans. Again, it's a privilege, Jim, to welcome you as Dharma teacher this day and create history with this community, this Sangha. And I suspect I look forward to some reflections today on the relationship between impermanence and the recall.
Oh.
I don't know if there's a
Actually,
connection.
that wasn't the topic I was thinking of today.
Good morning to you.
So, turn to your handouts. And some people do not have one. Some people will have to share.
There are two extras.
Who has not done these before? There's some. Okay. So we'll begin with the charge of compassion, and I will read the charge of compassion aloud, and everyone comes in together on the lines that are in italics. The charge of compassion. By the caring of Kuan Yin and the laughter of Hotai, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the infinite number of enlightening ones in all the multiverses, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the sun and moon, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the planets and stars, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the wind and rain, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the birds of the air, the beasts of the land, and the creatures of the sea, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the forests and grasses, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the oceans and rivers, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. By the grace of our ancestors, the benevolence of the lineage, and the kindness of all people, we meet. In gratitude, we meet. In perfect freedom, in perfect trust, in perfect joy, and perfect love, we meet in the endless circle of compassion. In gratitude, we meet. As the unborn one and as the unborn many, as the glittering, radiant, star-filled night and the brilliant sun-drenched day. Dusk and dawn, shadow and light, silence and music, stillness and dance. Winter wind and spring blossoms, the newborn babe and the wrinkled corpse, dust and rivers, galaxies and spider-webs. Numberless the manifestations of compassion, unborn the origin and the end, endless the tears of compassion, endless the laughter of compassion. And herein lies the secret of the circle of compassion, only that if we do not discover the compassion within, all of our seeking without shall end in vain. For truly, compassion is the whole of the Dharma, from before the beginning of time, throughout all space, permeating all realms, the endless release of the song of compassion. turn to page 3, the three refuges. Together, we'll recite the three refuges. The first grouping is a direct translation of the three refuges. The second grouping is a loose translation. The third grouping is the three refuges in Pali, which is probably very close to the Buddha's original words. And then the direct translation is repeated. So, together, the three refuges. We take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma. We take refuge in the Sangha. We take refuge in the enlightened ones. We take refuge in their teachings. We take refuge in our spiritual friends. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. We take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma. We take refuge in the Sangha. Turn to page 4. I'll read these contemplations aloud, and once again everybody comes in together on the lines that are in italics. These are the contemplations for everyone. We take this moment to recall, I am of a nature to grow old. I am of a nature to become ill. I am of a nature to die. I must at some time be separated from all that I hold dear. I am the heir of my own deeds. I am of a nature to become enlightened. I am not the only one to grow old. All are of a nature to grow old. I am not the only one to become ill. All are of a nature to become ill. I am not the only one to die. All are of a nature to die. I am not the only one who must be separated from all that is dear. All are of a nature to be separated from all they hold dear. I am not the only one who is the heir to my own deeds. All are heirs of their own deeds. I am not the only one who will become enlightened. All will become enlightened. Knowing this, the way appears and the path emerges. Turn to page 5. I'll read aloud this contemplation on our good fortune. We take this moment to contemplate our good fortune in having a rare human birth. We take this moment to contemplate our good fortune in having a sound mind and body. We take this moment to contemplate our good fortune in having good parents. We take this moment to contemplate our good fortune in all the teachers we have had. We take this moment to contemplate our good fortune in living in a time and place of relative peace and prosperity. Such an auspicious time and place is very rare. We take this opportunity to contemplate our good fortune at encountering the Dharma, the way to liberation, and the cessation of all sorrow. Such a combination of good fortunes is very rare, very difficult to find. Realizing this, we will not waste this opportunity. Realizing this, we dedicate ourselves to comprehending and realizing transcendent wisdom and infinite compassion. So, you can put these aside for now. We'll return to them at the close. Thank you. Do people have any Dharma questions that have been percolating over the last month, year, lifetime, eons, kalpas? No? Good. That's wonderful. So everything clear. Everything's clear. So I wanted to take this moment to announce that next month, November, the first Sunday in November, will be my last regular appearance here. So it's been a wonderful experience for me to come here month after month and speak here and form good friendships and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to put that out so that people will know. I think a lot of people know already. It's just a change of circumstances, in my own circumstances. They're requiring, less travel and more staying in in Sonoma County. So thank you very much, for giving me this opportunity to share the Dharma with you. And I greatly appreciate it. So
We are great.
thank you. Okay. I sometimes feel like I need to take a filing cabinet with me wherever I go. So, I am continuing a group in Sebastopol, and this. I was going to do this at the end, but it seems to be more appropriate now. This is an invitation to anyone who would like to attend those groups to drive up to Sebastopol some Tuesday. I can see what's down there. So there's a contemplation the Buddha has. It's called "All Meetings End in Parting." That's just one of his contemplations on impermanence. There's a whole group of contemplations on impermanence that the Buddha has. But one of them is all meetings end in parting. So that's a very good contemplation to take to heart. And the way you do it is regularly, like if you hold that thought, all meetings end in parting, the way you would hold in your mind a favorite poem. Like so. Not harshly or with clenched teeth. But that's when you're doing a verbal contemplation in Buddhism. That's how you hold it in your mind and your heart. So, and it's a very it's a contemplation on impermanence, but it's also a contemplation on equanimity. So I offer that to you in the context of our relationship. And I offer that to you in the context of the special lecture. I've been giving some talks on the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva, and I thought I'd just like to talk about one of the verses today. Is the 6th verse, which is about a Dharma teacher. And having a Dharma teacher is a great blessing and a great opportunity. It's a rare opportunity. So the verse reads, when you rely on them, your faults come to an end, and your good qualities grow like the waxing moon. Cherish spiritual teachers, even more than your own body. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. So why is there that admiration for the Dharma teacher, the spiritual teacher? So I clarify this kind of thing by thinking of my relationship to teachers in a more ordinary context. So if I want to be a musician, I have to rely on my music teacher, and the qualities of musicianship emerge by relying on my music teacher. So if I want to be be a hockey player, I rely on my coach, and the qualities of a hockey player emerge. Of course, this is assuming that the music teacher and the coach know what they're doing. But in any case, it's that kind of relationship. So Dharma qualities emerge by relying on a teacher, just as the qualities of a musician will emerge when you rely on a music teacher. I find that kind of analogy helpful. But what are the qualities that are being talked about? Good qualities grow like the waxing moon. So what are those good qualities? Well, clarity. Clarity is one. If you think back, those of you who have practiced the Dharma for some time, if you think back at the beginning and then think about where you are now, understandings such as interdependence, impermanence, the dependently arising nature of all things, those understandings have grown. The understanding of compassion has grown. There's clarity about that. This is mental clarity, but it's not only mental clarity. It's also clarity in our relationships with people and our activity. Another good quality that arises is consideration for others. So that's one of the basics of Buddhist ethics, and one of the. But it also naturally arises out of Buddhist practice as one realizes more and more that one does not exist as an isolated and separated self, but intimately related to other beings. Consideration for others naturally emerges. It can be directly cultivated, but it is also a natural consequence of Dharma practice, such as meditation. It can be directly cultivated primarily through the practice of the four immeasurables, the cultivation of love, compassion, sympathy, and equanimity. So those kinds of those are qualities that emerge. Then another quality that emerges is spaciousness. So one of the characteristics of our unenlightened moments is a kind of claustrophobia, or a feeling of being trapped, hemmed in. If we've had some practice, we can often realize that feeling isn't objectively justifiable. That in fact we do have options, for example. But I'm talking at an emotional level, or even an elemental level. There's a feeling of being like, how do I get out of this? And so as our meditative practice continues and our clarity grows, there's a sense that the arising of all phenomena occurs within a vast ocean of potentiality and spaciousness and freedom. That's a wonderful quality that's hard to pin down, because it doesn't have an explicit affect. You can't look at someone and say, they're spacious. Whereas you can look at somebody and say, I'll bet they're angry. It's hard to look at someone and say, they're experiencing spaciousness. But you can comprehend it in yourself and in your own mind and heart. There's one of my favorite discourses from the connected discourses is by Chitta the householder. And what he's asked, it's an interesting discourse because Chitta is teaching monks about the Dharma. And he's asked by the monastics about 5 different forms of practice. And are they different, or are they the same? Are they different in form? Or are they the same in form? Are they different in result, or the same in the result? I won't go through the whole discourse, but Chitta's quick answer is that they are different in form. The practice of the four immeasurables has a different form than the practice of spacious awareness, for example. You're doing something different. But then he says, but ultimately their meaning is the same. And the reason their meaning is the same is the end result is the experience of the immeasurable itself. So if you cultivate immeasurable compassion, immeasurable love, immeasurable sympathy, eventually what you'll experience is that experience of vastness itself, in which compassion and sympathy, love, and equanimity arises. So if you engage, say, in concentration or spacious awareness, like in zazen, once again, the end result of that is that sense of openness. So that experience is the same. Are there any questions or comments on this? It's the role of a spiritual teacher in the West is very new, and it gives rise to a great deal of confusion. Unlike the role of a music teacher or the role of a sports coach, which does not give rise to confusion. So, the reason the music teacher and the coach don't give rise to confusion is because we have a clear idea of what we want to accomplish in those contexts. I want to play this kind of music, or I want to improve my game to this level. So we understand that. The confusion about the spiritual teacher is it's not clear to us what we want to accomplish in that context. In terms of the Dharma, there's you can look at it from three aspects. One is wisdom, the wisdom aspect, which is in a Buddhist context, is the wisdom of the transcendental wisdom, the wisdom of what I call the presence of eternity, or awakening to the presence of eternity. And a second aspect is compassion, for those who have not awakened to the deathless and the unborn. And then the third aspect is precepts, which is the manifestation in behavior of that wisdom and compassion. So that's what's being, cultivated, or that's what the path is about, or that's what a Dharma teacher wishes to bring forth. But there are different types of teachers. And one of the really interesting things about Buddhism in the West today is that there's all these different models of teaching which are sort of jostling around, some that have come from various traditions and some that have emerged out of our own context. And as you look for a Dharma teacher, it's good for us to contemplate, what kind of teacher do we want? There's most of this part of my talk is taken from a book by, I can't remember the guy's first name, but his last name is Berzin. And he wrote a wonderful book about the role of the spiritual teacher in Buddhism. And what he does is he analyzes different approaches to teaching. So there's different types of teachers. For example, there's what he calls the Dharma professor. The Dharma professor. So, you've occasionally heard me in that role, I think. But if you're just looking for information, like the history of the Dharma, or perhaps doctrinal, basic doctrine, a Dharma professor might be sufficient. Well, one of the characteristics of a Dharma professor is, though they may be very good at conveying information, they don't necessarily have to be a Buddhist themselves. To be a Dharma professor, it's not necessary to have that direct commitment. So that's often the case at a university, for example. That the Dharma professor won't have a heart connection to the Dharma, but it's still, for many people, it's an excellent place to start, and you can learn a great deal, from a Dharma professor. There's also what I call the informal teachers. So most of us made our initial connection to the Dharma through informal exchange of information. Some friend saying, it's, such and such a teacher is really great, you really ought to hear their Dharma talk, or, such and such a book is really good, I found it really valuable and I think it will help you. That is a kind of teaching which I don't think is acknowledged enough. Any time that you just talk to a friend about the Dharma, in an ordinary way, that's a transmission of teaching. That's very important. It's really actually how the Dharma spreads in a society, because in that kind of informal context. Sometimes, you'll meet on an informal basis, you'll meet a Dharma student, and a student can also function as a teacher, in the sense that the student can say, well, my understanding is as follows, or I've learned this much, and that's another way of informal passing out of information. So you see, in one sense, when you look for a Dharma teacher, you need to ask yourself what it is you're seeking, and then that helps you focus and take steps on the path. For example, are you looking for a ritual leader? Most Americans aren't, but some are. And one of the important functions of a Buddhist priest and a Buddhist teacher in traditional Buddhist cultures is ritual leader, in the sense of funerals and baby namings and house blessings and all that kind of activity. Buddhism in the West tends to attract people who are not particularly interested in that, but you will run into that. There will be Buddhist teachers, and they will understand to mean Buddhism the performing of these rituals, and giving guidance, on how to do them. None of these subcategories are mutually exclusive. Most Dharma teachers will be a mixture, of some of them. Then there's what I call the topical expert. So the topical expert is focused in on a specific aspect of the Dharma, and there are a lot of Westerners who fall into this category. They've taken an interest in Vipassana meditation, and that's what they know. They're really, really good at it. Or they've taken an interest in the four immeasurables, in cultivating the four immeasurables, and that's what they know, and that's what they teach, And so if you're interested in that specific topic, that's the person to see. But if you want a broader picture, the context in which those particular practices arose, then you'll probably have to go to someone else, because that's not how they teach, and that's not their particular interest. So, moving on to something like the guide. A guide has a broader range. A guide also is someone who can refer you to someone who has topical expertise. So a guide is can be an individual or it can be an organization. GBF is very much like a guide, in the sense that people can come here and learn about, this group or that group does this or that. Now, moving to a more traditional relationship, there's the mentor. And the mentor is distinguished by being more long-term. The Dharma professor is a semester relationship. But the mentor is, takes an active interest in you, and has the capacity to respond to your personal blocks and difficulties or obscurations, which is cultivated as a relationship over a long period of time. There's the coach, the Dharma coach. I don't think this is given credit enough, but the Dharma coach is the cheerleader. you can do it. You're like, you can make it through this 7-day retreat. Like, I know you can. I'm sure that you can understand, like this particular thing. So that's a very important aspect of a good Dharma teacher. So some Dharma teachers are aloof. Like they don't have that that kind of personality that wants to, cheer you on. Then there's the sage, Dharma sage, and the sage has a broad range of knowledge. And one of the things that distinguishes the sage is that the Dharma is the most important thing in their life. So like that, they often do other things, like to pay the bills and that kind of thing. But if they had their druthers, like they would spend all their time on the Dharma, and here we begin with the sage. An important distinction is that the sage begins to manifest aspects of the teaching. So like you actually begin to see demonstrations of compassion, demonstrations of insight, demonstrations of equanimity. And that's a powerful learning environment. Then there's the scholar. And the scholar is distinguished by love of learning. So Roger Corliss is a Dharma scholar. Like many of you know Roger. Great love of learning. Nagarjuna was a Dharma scholar. The function of the Dharma scholar has great importance in the Buddhist tradition, down through the centuries. Then there's the master. And here we begin, the distinction between the master and the sage is that in traditional Buddhism, there is what we begin to see with the master is an aspect of devotion, like on the part of the student. The student becomes devoted to the master, and demonstrates that devotion. So there are many stories, like in the Zen tradition, of the Zen master having a cranky day, and the student nevertheless expressing their their commitment and their devotion to the Zen master. And then there's the guru, and here devotion becomes central. So in the Vajrayana traditions, Tibetan Buddhism, Shingon Buddhism in Japan, so devotion to your teacher, your guru, becomes a central practice, and the distinction between, say, the guru and the master, or the guru and the sage, is that in this kind of relationship, the devotion is institutionalized through a system of vows. There are actually 14 vows that a person takes to heart, that they will devote themselves to their guru and that tradition. Not only in this life, but life after life after life after life. So that's really a long-term commitment. So now there are all of these. All of these are sort of bubbling around in the West. And it's good to think about. Because if you go to a particular tradition and they have a guru lineage, then it's good to enter into that with some knowledge of what that means. And if you're going to a Dharma professor, you should have some understanding of what that means, both the pluses and the minuses. All of these have pluses and minuses. It's also important to consider what a spiritual teacher is not. So a spiritual teacher is not a doctor. If you have a physical problem, you should go to a doctor. A spiritual teacher is not a therapist. This is a tough one because it gets confused in the West because, in fact, a lot of Dharma teachers are therapists. So, like in that context, there's a merging. But what I mean is that a Dharma teacher is not necessarily a therapist. And the relationship, like if you have, say, partner problems or that kind of thing, it would be better to go to someone who has expertise in those kinds of relationships than to go to the Dharma teacher. So the function of the Dharma teacher is to teach Dharma. A spiritual teacher is not necessarily an artist. Okay. This is I got a kick out of this because the teacher I stayed the longest with, Sun Sanim, he was like on movie night, about once every 2 or 3 months in our community we'd all go to a movie, and he would pick like some kung fu thing. Somebody would raise their hand and say, "Can't we see? Oh, who's that director from Norway or Bergman? Thank you." Yeah. Somebody would raise their hand and say, "Oh, there's a new Bergman film," and he'd go, "No, kung fu." That kind of thing, and it really bothered some of the people in our community. And somebody gave him a present of a very expensive book about Picasso, reproductions. And he goes, "No point." And so, but I mean, that was Sun Sneem, and a lot of spiritual teachers are artists and poets. If that's important to you, you need to check that out. Because if a lack of sympathy on that level is going to rub you the wrong way, then you need to know that beforehand. So, spiritual teacher is not a financial advisor. The spiritual teacher is not an oracle. A spiritual teacher is not a savior. Okay? It's like if you take the analogy to a coach and music teacher, the function of the spiritual teacher is to create conditions for one's awakening. And that's an invaluable, assistance. Music teachers create conditions so that you can become a musician. And Dharma teachers create conditions so you can awaken to the deathless and the unborn, which is wonderful. But they can't zap you and make, and save you from your own limitations. In other words, everyone has to walk the path. And a spiritual teacher is not a magician. So I bring this up because actually there's a lot of confusion about that. There's traditionally in Buddhism, if you read the history of Buddhism, lay people often relate to Dharma teachers and monastics as if they have some magical power, and just by being around them, it's sort of like, I'm going to hitch a ride on this bus, to enlightenment, or something like that. And then there are all these stories, circulate about their magical power and this, that, and the other. Spiritual teachers often do manifest wonderful qualities, but suppose they don't. See, they still may be able to create conditions conducive to awakening. That's the point. That's the point. Whether or not someone is skilled in magic, one teacher might be skilled, have some occult skills, but that's no different than being a doctor. That's not the point of the Dharma. That's not the point of the Dharma teacher. Yeah.
When you say create conditions, do you mean deliberately or does it just naturally happen?
No, deliberately, methodically.
In other words, push your buttons sometimes.
Well, they might, the question about pushing the buttons is like a music teacher might say to a student, go home, you haven't practiced this week. Don't waste my time. They might do that. Or a sports coach say, like I've told you to hold the bat this way, like for the last 3 months, like when are you going to get it through your thick skull to do that? So there can be that kind of, interaction, like that might be part of creating conditions. A lot of that is the personality of a particular teacher. Like some teachers are very confrontative, and they come from traditions where that's acknowledged as being conducive, and other traditions do not, have that approach.
When do you know it's over with the teacher?
When do you know it's over with the teacher? Well, that's one of the reasons why I suggested that it's really good to ask yourself what it is that you're looking for. So in the case of the Dharma professor, it's over when the semester's over.
Like with this guy who likes the Kung Fu movies.
Well, in my, just to relay my personal story, is that I felt that my practice was becoming stale. After quite a few years, and we had a discussion, a number of discussions about that, and we mutually came to an agreement that it was time for me to move on. But that's part of the Korean Buddhist tradition. It's normal in Korean Buddhism for people to have more than one teacher. It's not a guru relationship, So that's my personal sort of report, on that. It's good to check in with your teacher, if you feel that your practice is getting flat and stale, and it's not, you can't get farther with it. Sometimes that's just the mind being lazy, and a good teacher might be able to say, well, you need to shift your gears here or shift your gears there. But sometimes you really do need to move on and find someone else. So I wish there was a formula, but I don't have one. Most, if you read the biographies of Dharma practitioners, most of them are studied under more than one individual. So, let's see, are we running a couple more minutes? Okay. So here are the qualities to look for in a spiritual teacher. Jim's qualities. This is what Jim thinks that you should look for. So, they live up to the 5 precepts of the Dharma. That's basic. The 5 ethical precepts. Honesty. That is, when they don't know something, they say they don't know something. That's what I really listen for that. That they have knowledge of the subject. That they're not evasive or mysterious. I understand about ultimate reality being beyond words, but a little warning bell goes on in my mind when I hear that phrase too much. The taste of an orange is also beyond words, but I can certainly tell you where to get one. So you need to distinguish. For example, if they say the ultimate nature is beyond words, and they explain why that's the case, that's not being evasive. But if you ask them a simple question and they go, my teaching is beyond words, and so I'm not sure, about that. So,
I just wonder if I could ask, since I know time's getting short, regarding teachers and precepts.
Yes.
That if there has been a tradition, either in Buddhism or somewhere in the West, where teachers teach out of their mistakes.
Right.
And that there is room for teachers to fail.
Absolutely.
To violate the precepts and use that as resource for enlightenment.
I completely agree.
Today is such that, if a teacher violates a precept, especially a sexual precept, you're not only defrocked or denounced, you're almost kicked out of the tribe, so to speak. And that, I don't have any sense that there's any room for teachers to be human.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I completely agree. There's a procedure for repentance and convention, like that's standard in Buddhism, and that hasn't been used enough in the West. Like my own teacher went through some ethical difficulties since then, and when the community became aware of them, there was an assembly, and we went through a repentance ceremony, and it was beautiful, and people were able to move on from that. I mean, that's the purpose of the repentance ceremony, which in the monastic community is done every full and new moon. So it's a regular part of the Buddhist tradition, so that there's an understanding that the precepts are a guideline, but human beings are in this situation, and so it's called renewing the precepts. You renew your commitment to the precepts. So, is that responsive?
That's refreshing.
Okay. Incidentally, the student should also live up to the 5 precepts. There's been too much discussion about, in my opinion, there's been too much discussion about the standards that a teacher has to live up to, and almost no discussion about the standards that a student should meet. Very imbalanced. Very imbalanced. So just to switch gears here, the student should have some humility. So imagine somebody who goes to a music teacher, and they say, the music teacher says, well, you need to hold your hands this way. Oh, never mind that. I don't want to do it that way. So that's you wouldn't have the first step. But that kind of thing happens all the time in a spiritual context. Like somebody shows up at a spiritual tradition, they go, ha, I don't want to do it that way. So there needs to be some humility. There needs to be a willingness to follow instructions. The student should not insist on special treatment. So some people arrive at a Zen center or another Buddhist center, and the idea is that they have now blessed the center by their presence. So not good, not a good basis. So they need to be a good listener, and they need to not be cynical. Very important. So, if not be cynical about the reality of transcendent wisdom and the possibility of infinite compassion. If somebody, that's a toughie, because our culture has a lot of cynicism about that. If someone is cynical about that, that needs to be addressed at the very beginning. That needs to be overcome. So those are Jim's standards for teacher and student. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time here, and thank you for listening.
Paul, our host, stay.
I am. Okay. We have to don the pole, and we rely on your generosity to keep Chogye going. And we suggest a $5 donation, more if you can, or less if that's a hardship. And please clean your cups.
Yeah, nobody's been erased. There's three you have one of three status high status. You've got an email, a hard copy, and an inactive, and so they've been put on an inactive if we didn't hear from them.
Yeah, but my question is, how do you, if you want to, how do you get back up to?
Oh, you mean if they ignored it for 6 months?
I don't know.
Yeah, they can still go. There's no formal system for that yet because we're sort of taking it on the basis of, well, there were 6 month window to make that response, and so we're kind of working on the presumption that if we didn't hear from anybody in 6 months, that they're just not even opening the newsletter. And so if someone somehow didn't get back to us in that time frame, they can be reinstated. But thanks for the question. We don't have a formal system for that yet.
Maybe we should put a list out for people who
Okay.
want to do that.
There's a list out.
There's always a list that Jim handles, and they can put themselves on that. Sure.
The revolving door of mercy.
Oh, that's like,
If anybody can give me a ride to or near the Castro after this ID,
I received an email a couple of days ago from the director of the San Francisco Buddhist Center, and she said that recently during one of our Sunday sittings, somebody from the center walked by and the front door was wide open, and nobody was in the front room, and they're a little concerned about this. So I was asked to make an announcement that we please keep that door closed while we're in here. So that's what I thought.
Turn to page 6. And together we'll recite the contemplation on forgiveness. Whatever harmful, negative, or destructive deeds I have done, through body, speech, or mind, intentionally or unintentionally, I do hereby repent of those deeds. I do hereby forgive myself for those deeds. I do hereby release those deeds to the understanding and compassion of the enlightening ones. Whatever harmful, negative, or destructive deeds others have done to me, through body, speech, or mind, intentionally or unintentionally, I do hereby forgive those deeds. I do hereby release those deeds to the understanding and compassion of the enlightening ones. I'll read aloud the contemplation on kindness and caring. With every act of kindness, the way grows clearer. With every act of caring, the way grows smoother. We rejoice in every act of kindness, great or small, near or far, known or unknown, ordinary or extraordinary. We rejoice in every act of caring, great or small, near or far, known or unknown, ordinary or extraordinary. May kindness and caring blossom within us and within all people. May wisdom and compassion blossom within us and within all people. May gratitude and serenity blossom within us and within all people. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, life after life, as we attain the unexcelled peace, serenity, and bliss of Nirvana. Together we'll recite the Song of Heart Wisdom. May all sentient existence be well and happy. May all sentient existence be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May good fortune fill all the days of all the lives of all sentient existence. May all sentient existence dwell forever in the limitless realm of the ever-present peaceful heart and serene mind. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. The hindrances are inexhaustible. I vow to extinguish them all. The teachings are innumerable. I vow to learn them all. The way of the Bodhisattva is unattainable. I vow to attain it. The way of the Buddha is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Whatever merit we have earned since beginning this time, we do hereby freely offer this merit to all sentient existence. Whatever merit we have earned from this morning's contemplations, We do hereby freely offer this merit to all sentient existence. Thank you. Let's see. On the spiritual teacher.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.